The efficiency versus resiliency dilemma. What's the biggest vulnerability in your business? This past week, I hosted a small group of clients here on our farm in Vermont. And one of the conversations that came up after the tour of our homestead was around the topic of efficiency versus resiliency. And more specifically, how focusing on efficiency over resiliency can unintentionally create massive vulnerability in your business. Let me explain. The efficiency versus resiliency spectrum. First, we can think of efficiency and resiliency as being on opposite ends of a spectrum like this. In other words, efficiency often comes at the expense of resiliency. For example, our farm is optimized around the goal of resiliency. We have multiple forms of livestock, dozens of different food sources, fruit trees, nut trees, berry bushes, multiple annual production gardens, crops that perform well in wet years, crops that perform better in droughts. It's a highly diversified system. Now, it would be far more efficient to focus on growing just one product, like raising pigs or growing apples or producing maple syrup. But that's not what we're optimizing for. We're optimizing for resiliency. We expect that there will be major climate swings in the coming years, and I have no idea what black swan crisis is coming next. But what we do know is that a diverse, multi-species polyculture is far more robust and resilient than any single monoculture system. This is true in agriculture, and it's also true in business as well, as we'll get to in just a moment. Which brings us to the unconventional lesson that wheat, corn, and rice can teach us about marketing. If you're a student of history, then you're probably familiar with the incredibly tragic Irish potato blight of the 1840s. Reliance on a single crop left the people of Ireland incredibly vulnerable. In the 1840s, an unexpected potato blight destroyed Ireland's primary food source, leading to the Great Famine, where over 1 million people, nearly 15% of Ireland's population, starved to death. Now, it's tempting to think that this was a long time ago and this could never happen in our lifetime. But today, just 3 cereal grains, wheat, corn, and rice, account for nearly 60% of all calories consumed worldwide. And in 80 years, we've lost 93% of biodiversity in our food seeds. It seems that perhaps we haven't learned our lesson after all. Which takes us to the business lesson in all of this. Last year, in issue number 3 of the Digital Contrarian, I wrote about the new zero-click reality that we've entered into in this post-AI world. How 60% of all Google searches now result in a zero-click search, and how on mobile devices that number is actually closer to 77%, meaning that in 77% of all Google searches, because people are getting the information that they need with Google's AI overview, they are not clicking to visit any other website. In other words, in less than a year, SEO as a meaningful traffic source has basically disappeared off the face of the earth. And the implications of this extend far beyond SEO, because the broader business lesson is this. In this highly disruptive post-AI world, if you are overly reliant on any single traffic source right now, no matter how solid that channel may seem to be today, your business is incredibly vulnerable. So the question is, what's the solution? Well, the alternative to a single channel traffic strategy is building a highly diversified strategic content ecosystem, like the one that you see here in this diagram. If you're reliant on a single channel on the left and that channel disappears or is disrupted, your business can disappear with it. Versus with a strategic content ecosystem on the right, your business is far more resilient and robust to weather any storms that may be coming. A strategic content ecosystem is the equivalent of owning a highly diversified polyculture farm, except you've got a diversified content strategy spanning everything from Substack, Medium, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, and more, where you're not dependent on any single source for sustenance. And if any one channel gets disrupted, disappears, or deplatforms you, you're not going to go out of business because you're highly diversified across different channels. Now, the challenge, of course, is that this level of resiliency comes with a price, which brings us to the resiliency trade-off. If the price of efficiency is fragility, see the Irish monoculture potato blight of the 1840s, then the price of resiliency is complexity. Managing any highly diversified system, whether that's a regenerative polyculture farm or a strategic content ecosystem, involves a relatively high degree of complexity. And this is the reason why most people don't grow their own food. It's also why most people struggle to sustain a meaningful content ecosystem beyond just one or two channels. So how do you achieve resiliency without the complexity? Simply put, you hire someone else to manage it for you. It's like owning a farm without having to spend 8 or 10 hours a day managing it yourself. You hire someone to build and manage your content ecosystem, one that you own, just to be clear, but which you pay somebody else to manage. Now, when I decided to go all in on this strategy myself last year, this is exactly what I did. I didn't try to build and manage it all myself. Instead, I built a team. And today, this team and I are doing the exact same thing for other founders who are interested in building the exact same thing for themselves. A strategic content ecosystem built around their own thought leadership. Essentially, the way that it works is like this. My team and I work with a small number of founders to build highly diversified strategic content ecosystems around your unique thought leadership, designed to establish you as the category of one leader in your market. We do this by taking a weekly source of truth email newsletter that you write, just like I do myself with the Digital Contrarian, and repurpose the content from that newsletter across 37 different formats and channels online, in video, in audio, across YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Medium, Substack, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. In other words, you write one weekly email, we handle all the rest. This is the exact same process that I've been following for the last 18 plus months with the Digital Contrarian, an approach that's left my private consulting practice oversubscribed, that's landed me dozens of speaking invitations, and even helped me launch an entirely new business. Now, demand for this new service has been off the charts, and we're currently 100% booked right now. But we are adding capacity to take on a few more clients right now as we speak. And I mention this to you because if you're interested in grabbing one of these spots, you can join the priority waitlist that we've set up, which we'll make sure to link to in the description with this episode. Okay, I'm going to leave you with that for now. I hope that this discussion around efficiency versus resiliency has given you something to think about, especially around where you may have vulnerabilities and thus opportunities in your own business. So as you ponder that question, I want to wish you a great rest of your day. Remember to hug the ones that you love. And until next week, I wish you all my best, and I'll see you in the next episode.